Welcome back to the channel, everybody. If you are new to our channel, my name is Kevin.
And I'm Dan.
And together we are Compass Roadz, and today's video is going to be all about our 2021 year-end review. But before we get started, I want to let you know there's going to be times we're going to be looking down. You're going to see our eyes glance down because that is where our notes are at, so we can stay on track.
But 2021 was a good year for us. We actually made 78 stops and traveled 12,200 miles along the way. And
one of those stops was in Willis, Texas, where we picked up this lovely rig that we are currently setting in right now.
This is a 2021 Grand Design Reflection 303 RLS fifth wheel.
But while we were there, we picked up a little something extra as well.
We got the COVID.
We picked up the COVID, but we want to say that we hold no ill feelings towards the salesman or the RV dealership, because we think this stuff is going to be with us for a while, and it was just our time to get it. But like you said, we went to a smaller, well, you didn't say, but we did. We went from a bigger fifth wheel to a smaller fifth wheel, which means we had more stuff that we wanted to get rid of, that we didn't want to sell, because we wanted to keep it if we ever leave this lifestyle. So we were heading back to New Mexico so we could put stuff in storage.
And we were there about 3 days taking care of business, and we made another major purchase along that way.
And the purchase that we made was probably the best purchase that we made in 2021, which was our 1,000 Trails membership.
And we got to use it almost right away.
So while we were there, we were watching the news, and that's when they were talking about that polar vortex that was going to be coming through. So we thought we were going to be wise, because we had some cosmetic things that happened while we were traveling from Texas to New Mexico to the RV. So we were heading back to Willis to get those fixed.
But then we seemed to run right into some freezing fog into this polar vortex on that Saturday.
So yeah, us leaving early did not help us out one little bit, because we got pulled off the interstate and stuck in Fort Stockton at Fort Stockton RV Park for how many days? That was Saturday, and we left.
3 nights.
Three nights?
3 nights.
We were there for 3 nights with no water.
No electricity.
No electricity. We do have our Predator, and we use it quite a bit, our Predator generator. But we were heading back to Willis, like I said, to get some cosmetic stuff done on the RV. But when we called to make sure that we can make it there, once they opened up the interstate, I-10 was closed. Once they opened that back up, we called them, and they basically told us not to come at that point in time because the weather there was a little bit crazy. So we made our way to Medina.
Right. We got to Medina, and we still had snow on the ground there at that point, and we were supposed to head over to Willis, but we found that there was a Harlingen 1,000 Trails that we could go to, which is very South Texas near the Mexico border.
So that's where we proceeded from Medina RV Campground, which is 1,000 Trails. So we ended up going to Harlingen and staying at Sunshine RV Resort, where it was, at the time that we were there, it was an Encore Park and 1,000 Trails Park.
And that's where we got to shower, because we went 5 days without showering.
5 days, our dog wouldn't even want to talk to us. That's pretty sad when your dog doesn't even want to be around you because you smell. But while we were there, we got to do some fun things a little bit. We didn't film, but we got to do some fun things.
We got to go to Mexico a few times.
Went to Mexico a few times. Got to have some awesome margaritas while we were over there. You got some dental work done. But we also made our way over to South Padre Island and got to run around on the beach over there. We went to a bar where we had some pina coladas. Were awesome. But unfortunately, that good time came to an end.
It came to an end, and we had to make our way back up north to North Texas.
Yeah, so like what we tried to get done earlier, we now are headed back up to Willis, Texas, so we can get that cosmetic stuff done and taken care of, so we can head to our summer destination, which Dan's going to put a video in here on how we picked that summer destination, but things didn't go as planned. Didn't go as planned there as well because of the governor.
That's right. So we made our change to going from Michigan, which was our initial plan, to go to Maine, which was our second choice.
Was our second choice.
We always wanted to.
We did get to stop in Magnolia Beach before we got to Willis. I want to throw that in real quick. But because we changed our plan to go to Maine, we needed to stage ourselves because it was still like mid to late February. So we stayed at a couple spots, one night apiece, to get over to Florida so we could start staging ourselves to go up the East Coast to get to Maine.
And we spent maybe 2 weeks in Fort Walton area. We spent a week in the Panama City area. And then we made our way through the Georgias, Carolinas, and up to Virginia.
Virginia, where we stayed at what we think is one of our favorite 1,000 Trails parks, which is Chesapeake Bay RV Resort, which is over in Gloucester, Virginia.
And then we went to an alpaca farm, which we loved. Unfortunately, they are no longer there. They got rid of their alpacas. And then we went to Williamsburg, Virginia.
So we knew going into Williamsburg from a couple of friends that we made while we were there. Tin Can Living, thank you so much for telling us about how tight the campground was going to be. Unfortunately, we were a victim of that. So we got there, we check in. Normally, I follow Dan to our campsite, but before he backs in, I get out to check the power pedestal to make sure that we don't have any reverse polarity or any issues going on with that power pedestal. But this time, I did not follow him. I went ahead of him, and that's when tragedy number 1 happened.
Yes, the day that we were leaving Williamsburg to go up to Pennsylvania, I noticed that as I was sweeping off the roof, there were holes, about a dozen holes in the roof. So apparently, I didn't know that I hit a twig or something, but we called Grand Design to find out what we need to do about it.
So yes, we called Grand Design, but before that we actually thought it was just some issue with the roof. We called Grand Design to get some warranty work. They told us that, hey, you're going to have to take it to an authorized Grand Design dealership, talk to their warranty department. Their warranty manager's going to have to come out and take pictures. But right now, just put some duct tape over it and head on your way. So we did. We left Williamsburg, Virginia, and headed up to Pennsylvania, where we stayed at Gettysburg Farms. Gettysburg Farms. Make sure I say that right. That was 1,000 Trails, or was that an Onborn?
Right. That was 1,000 Trails.
Anyways, while we were there, we were going to be moving from there to Hershey, but we had to schedule time to get the roof looked at, so we did it in between those. It would have been better to do it beforehand because it was en route, but we just had to drive an hour south in between our parks, get it looked at, and then we went up. They took the pictures, submitted them to Grand Design. When we got to Hershey Park, that's when we talked to Grand Design. We were there for a little bit, and that's when they basically said, no, it's not warranty, you must have hit something, and we did our back tracing, and that's where we think it happened at, was at Williamsburg. So unfortunately, but while we were on the phone with them, we went ahead and scheduled the roof repair to be done at their facility.
And the earliest they could get us in was mid-July, so we were still talking, this is March, so it worked out.
That was May.
It was May?
It was May. March, we were still in Florida, but it was May. They said, yes, you can go ahead and put duct tape on it and carry on about your plans. So that's what we did. So we end up staying at another park while we were there, while in Gettysburg. We stayed at 3 different parks while we were in the Pennsylvania area, and then we headed up to Massachusetts.
Well, that's when problem number 2 happened. Our fridge went out. We didn't know what was going on, but I went to the outside of the rig, pulled open the vent casings, and noticed that the fans weren't working, and one was totally demolished.
So once again, we called Grand Design and Norcold. That's the brand of the refrigerator. If you follow any Facebook groups that deal with anybody that deals, they call it the No Cold. There's a reason, but long story short, we got in touch with them, let them know that our rig was already scheduled to get the roof repaired in July over at the Grand Design in Middlebury. They said, okay, we'll just send the parts to them and they will fix. We talked to Grand Design. They talked to each other. It was pretty cool how it all went down. I mean, it was kind of seamless. I mean, it was frustrating at the time because we were living out of styrofoam coolers, but they said, yeah, Grand Design can do the warranty work there. We'll send the parts over there, but you still need to get the refrigerator looked at by a Norcold specialist as well. Basically the same thing, go through so they can do the warranty work and make sure everything's warranty work. But while we were in Massachusetts, no one there could do it in the time frame that we were there.
So luckily we were able to find one of the Norcold certified technicians in Ellsworth, Maine, which was right next to Bar Harbor. And we told them we were going to be in Bar Harbor the following week, and we were able to get an appointment the same day that we arrived.
So here we are with duct tape on our roof, living out of 2 coolers to have food. It didn't stop us. We stopped in Wells, Ogunquit area first when we first arrived into Maine. We stayed there about a week at, what was that called? Moody Beach. Moody Beach, great campground, loved it. I wish we would have had our e-bikes then because it would have been a fun time there. We only spent a week there, and then we headed up to Bar Harbor, like you said, where after we got set up, that's when the technician showed up.
And we spent 2 weeks there, enjoyed Bar Harbor. That was our enticement. And then we made our way back to Grand Design because this was already at the beginning of July. But we made a stop along the way.
Yeah, we actually made 2 stops along the way. We stopped at your cousin's house first for one night to break up the travel day. Actually, we made 3 stops because we stopped there and then we stopped at another harvest host. But anyways, thank you,
Linda and John.
Linda and John. I couldn't remember John's name. I didn't want to. But anyways, thank you so much for hosting us. You have a beautiful place. I know we're terrible guests, and we're sorry that we tore up your field. But then we left from there. We stopped at another harvest host, which was a winery. We did a short, which is in here somewhere real quick. Not a short, but a something or other. Prison City Brewery, which was pretty cool. But yes, we ended up in Niagara Falls.
And we had a blast there. Now, we were expecting to go to the Moose Lodge there, and I had called in advance. They said, yeah, we've got power. We got 30 amp power. So we get there. Sure enough, they had a 30 amp power box, but the receptacle wasn't there. Apparently, somebody had taken it out a few years earlier.
Yeah, so that would have been nice to know before we got there. I wish they would have went out there and looked, because we probably would have left it off, but I'm kind of 50-50. I'm kind of glad they didn't go out there, because we wouldn't have went up there. But anyways, it wasn't without hassle. You're always going to have some type of issue, which that was our issue there. So is the full-time RV life. I mean, you adapt and overcome, right? So we get there, we find a spot. It happens to be right next to a motel. So the window that's right behind us right now, we could look out that window and into the motel, which was part of our campground, the room that was right behind us. But it was all good because we got to hang out and do the things that we wanted to do at Niagara Falls. That was one of the videos that just came out last week. So we thought that was footage that we thought we lost over the summer.
And then we were headed down to Middlebury to get our to Grand Design, but we had to make a few stops along the way.
One of which is at your brother's house, because we had to drop off Ava, our dog, because we're getting ready to be homeless. And we wanted her to be taken care of. Thank you, Dave and Candace and Rachel, for taking good care of her. She had a blast with all 3 of your dogs. They have 2 golden retrievers and then whatever Gracie is.
And so after we left my brother Dave's house, we went to Grand Design and turned the rig in. And we had a week that we were scheduled to just be on our own. But we had friends up in Michigan, and they allowed us to stay at their cabin for a few nights.
Coincidentally enough, while we were in Harlingen, that is when Kevin and Louise, the ones that let us borrow their cabin while our roof was getting fixed and our refrigerator was getting fixed, they were also our subscribers. That's when they subscribed to us, and we had been talking with them, and we are so thankful that you guys, put up with our nonsense and everything. It was great being there with you guys, but unfortunately good things had to come to an end, so we had to head back over to
my parents' house in Frankenmuth, Michigan.
Yeah, and talk about that.
Yeah, we were just helping them get rid of some stuff because they were going to get ready to sell their house later on that fall.
So we got that stuff knocked out of the way, so we helped them out, get ready to get the house to where it needed to be, but we had to get back over to Ohio because while we were in Michigan, that's when we found out that it was going to take a little bit longer to get our stuff fixed. But we had to go back to get Ava anyway, so we staged ourselves there. Thank you once again for Candace and David for putting up with us yet again, so we could couch surf on their, well, it wasn't a really couch, they had a spare bedroom. But thank you for putting up with us. We got the call, said, hey, come pick up your rig, it's good to go. And that was kind of cool because when we got there, they were actually pulling our rig out to put it on the spot at their little campground when we got there. So I did a really quick inspection over everything. They walked us through a couple of things. I noticed that they missed some sealant. They came right out. That customer service is awesome. If you have not been there or have had to deal with them, they're just awesome. They came right out with a ladder, team of 2 personnel, fixed the spots that I thought needed more sealant, and we stayed there for the night.
And then we headed down to Arkansas because your son was getting ready to go to school.
He was starting his sophomore year, and actually he was supposed to be with us right now, but he was starting his sophomore year, and I wanted to get down there with him, have him get his supplies, clothes, and hang out with him. I knew we were going to be spending roughly the rest of the year in that area, so I wanted to get down there so I could be with him for a little bit.
And so while we were spending our time in Arkansas for almost 5 months, we spent most of our time in Corps of Engineer parks.
Absolutely, and you have to just adapt and overcome yet again, even with Corps of Engineer parks, and we loved them, but that's when we made another purchase.
We purchased RPI, which is Resort Parks International.
So now that we had made that purchase, my birthday was coming up in September, and we wanted to go do something, so we took the rig over to Branson and hung out there at an RPI campground.
Treasure Lake. It was a beautiful campground.
Awesome place. Then we come back to Arkansas there for about a week. doing some last minute stuff there, getting everything, and that's when we got the e-bikes. But then
we had to make a trip back up to Michigan to go ahead and help my parents move out of the house.
And part of that was using RPI one more time so we can break up our travel days, and we stopped at a spot in Missouri.
Right, Owensboro, Missouri.
What was it called? Hidden Lake?
I think
Hidden Valley Lake or Hidden Lake, something like that. But while we were backing in our rig to our spot, there was a couple walking their dog. They went by. They stopped and stared at us. We were having, because there was a big ditch on the other side, we were having some issues, and I was getting frustrated. And then I see this couple walking their dog, so they stop and they're staring at us. And then they finally walked on past, and I'm mumbling under my breath, like, why are they doing it? This is not a show, even though it's always a show. Everybody knows it's a show. So, coincidentally enough, the next day, that didn't scare them off. They were walking their dog again from the other direction, and we were shooting the video for our RV log. They walked by again. We started talking with them. They asked us how we liked our Grand Design. You know, they have a Solitude, and they were parked on the opposite side of the campground from where we were at. And then one thing led to another. We were talking, and turns out that Wade, so the couple we were talking about was Wade and Holly, both retired Air Force veterans. But Wade and I used to work together at Lakenheath in the 492nd, and I did not recognize him. We had both got a little grayer, a little chubbier. He's got a big old beard, so I definitely didn't know it. His voice sounded familiar. So that was nice, you know. But while we were there, they actually let us borrow their MoRide hitch mount stabilizer for one night.
And we tried it out. We absolutely fell in love with it. So the next day we left to go up to Michigan, and we were there at the Indiana-Michigan border. And we were maybe 30 miles away from MoRide, and we were able to purchase the hitch, and we also received the front X-brace.
The X-brace. So there's going to be a video put in here somewhere from where we installed those on our way back down. So yeah. We left there, got those parts, didn't put them on yet because it rained the whole time that we were there, headed over to Michigan to help his parents. Now pack the things that they're going to be taking to their new location, which is over in Wisconsin. But we just needed to know what it was that they wanted to take over there, because they were getting ready to take their pilgrimage down to Phoenix, because that's where they go in the wintertime. So they headed off. Dan took off in the other direction with the things that was going to Wisconsin. He rode back with his brother who lives in Wisconsin, so we all can get the house ready to do the estate sale and get on the market.
So luckily that did happen, and the house is sold, I guess, as just a few weeks ago. So.
But on our way back down, we made a few extra stops. That's where the Serpent Mound, I don't know if that card's going to be in here, and we stopped at Mammoth Cave, which I don't think we put out. Did we put a video out?
No, not a Mammoth Cave, but it was beautiful.
If you get a chance to go there, that's definitely something you need to see. We wanted to stop at the Ark, but it was just going to be too far out of our way, because we needed to get down to Tennessee, where we stayed at 1000 Trails Park, and that's where we put the two stabilizers on, the two sets of stabilizers. And then we headed over to West Memphis to one of our favorite parks, which is Sawyer Park. Love it. It's not it's just its own private campground, but it's an awesome place. But while we were there, that's where we ran into Wade and Holly again.
Yep. And we had a great time there. And then from there, we ended up going back to Arkansas.
Yeah, we're back in Arkansas because now it's getting close to the holidays. We got back in the beginning of November, so we wanted to make sure that we stayed there in that area so we can be with family for Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's, and
we enjoyed our time with our families. Yeah. So thank you very much.
Everybody that put up with us that whole time. Thank you to my parents, my sister and her husband, their kids, everybody that put up with us. Definitely to my mom and to my dad. My cousin Carla that was housing my four-wheeler. Thank you. Which now hopefully is getting sold.
And so that was about the end of 2021, because from then we started moving and making our way down to Florida, where we're at right now.
Where we're at right now, we're in 1000 Trails Orlando, which is beautiful. I keep clapping. I don't know why. So I think that pretty much concludes where we're at. You know, it was pretty quick, but there's going to be video cards here and there. There was a lot of modifications we did along the way, a lot of things that we had done, a lot of things that are planned on the horizon, so please stay tuned. So I think that's it. So until next week.
Where will the road take you?
Life is a winding road, no telling where it goes. Driving through days and nights, won't stop for traffic lights.